and the rock gets polished into a shiny gem. From Whispering Pines, North Carolina, the site of the Winston Invitational Golf Tournament, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. Tension, pressure, danger, excitement. All these are everyday facts of life for the men and women who make their living in the high-speed atmosphere of professional drag racing. The load at times seems more than one person can expect to bear. So when an opportunity to kick back and relax comes along, most racers seize the day. Some, like Tom McEwen, have hobbies to provide distractions. Others, like Dale Armstrong, prefer to relax with a little sun and a good book. This week, as racers gather in the Sand Hills region of North Carolina for the Winston Invitational, the best relaxation is to take a drive in the pines at Whispering Woods Golf Club. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans, and this is NHRA Today. As you can see behind me, quite a gathering of racers and officials to challenge the links in a scrambles competition staged by Winston. Finally, we'll be able to show you who truly is the best driver and who just putters along. Think those were bad? Stick around for the next half hour. But first of all, a more serious matter. As reported earlier, Pro Stock World Champion Daryl Alderman has been indicted in Lexington, Kentucky on federal drug charges. We take a close look at that story. On March 29th at the Federal District Court in Lexington, Kentucky, Daryl Alderman, accompanied by his ex-wife Penny and lawyer Derek Gordon, was arraigned on a federal charge of conspiracy to distribute cocaine. Previous reports stating that the charges included possession were false. U.S. Attorney Louis D. Fillets explained the indictment.
This is a charge to distribute an illegal substance, in this case, the drug cocaine. They were charged with coming together, interreacting, and doing, and for the purpose of causing this cocaine to be distributed.
I don't even know the name of this charge. It's intent to possess, to distribute.
The other two men named in the indictment, Paul Adams and Gregory Frankel, were arrested by federal agents on February 13th during an undercover drug buy. Alderman was not present at that arrest, although he does know both men.
They're acquaintances of mine. I met Paul a couple years ago, and the Frankel, I met him probably 6 months ago.
Frankel and Adams also face firearms charges, but it's the conspiracy charge that is the most severe and in many ways the most difficult to defend.
Anytime you're involved in the federal system with a conspiracy, without question, it's difficult. And conspiracy does consist of many, many things, and something that you may have done 3 years ago can all of a sudden pop up in your face 3 years later.
With all available information from the public record, it seems that Daryl's name only recently popped up. The federal indictment states the investigation dates back to August of 1988. And from that time to the arrest of Frankel and Adams, Daryl Alderman was apparently not a target of the investigation, but was only considered a potential witness.
The only thing I know is I was called by the FDEA. They told me I was going to be summoned to come down and be a witness, was my understanding of the thing at first. And of course then I went to Derek, my attorney, and all of a sudden I was a target.
When asked if Daryl had been aware of any investigation prior to the arrest, the federal attorney declined to comment. As far as the NHRA stands, Vice President of Field Administration Mike Lewis says Alderman's status with them remains unchanged.
Daryl has been indicted, but he remains innocent until proven guilty, and as such, he'll retain his NHRA competition license, his points, and all competition privileges.
A release order filed on March 29th gives Daryl permission to travel for purposes of employment, so he will be behind the wheel of the Wayne County Speed Shop Dodge for the time being.
We're 100% behind Daryl Alderman. We've known him for 11 to 12 years. We absolutely thank the world of Daryl, and our stance is we're just totally behind him.
Under our system of justice, every individual is presumed innocent until they are convicted.
All I can do is pray that the system works and I'll come out acquitted on this thing.
If convicted, Daryl faces a minimum sentence of 10 years and fines up to $4 million. No trial date has been set. NHRA Today will continue to follow this story in the months to come. Now, switching gears to the Winston Invitational. 1 year ago this weekend, John Force was the #1 funny car qualifier. And at the close of qualifying, the irrepressible one made an off-the-wall comment, something he's prone to do, that came back to haunt him.
The Winston Invitational is a great race, and it was fun to go down there in the South. That was really exciting. And when we come in last year, everything just clicked. The car performed real well. We were #1 qualifier, and somebody said to me, "What would you rather do since you won all the money?" I said, "I'd rather have a piece of the game." This was that big moment. I said from the crowd that they had at Rockingham, because I mean, let me tell you something. We're talking about the rows of people just headed down through there. I mean, this thing was spectacular looking. Concrete walls on both sides. It looked like solid people. And on race day, they walked out there and they gave me a piece of that game. That's right, I got it. A real game. And all my relatives snuck through that hole in the fence.
About a half hour from Whispering Woods Golf Club is Rockingham International Dragway, the site of the Winston Invitational. And if John thought last year's crowd was huge, this year should be even bigger with the addition of new grandstand seating. Other improvements that have further polished the rock are the construction of a new access road adjacent to the strip and new 300-foot concrete launch pads. 300 feet, that's 100 yards, about as far as I've been able to hit my driver off the practice tee here. But of course I am playing left-handed to give the guys a bit of a break today. Not bad. Stay with us. When we come back, I'll introduce you to our fearless foursome, and we'll give you a slice of golfing life NHRA style. By the way, I lied. I can't even eat right-handed.
NHRA Today is being brought to you by Castrol GTX, the motor oil that provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown.
Golf tournament. There's a few minutes before we tee off, so meet a member of our foursome today, Jim White, the driver of Roland Leong's Hawaiian Punch Dodge Daytona funny car. I don't know about our chances of winning today, but you finally won the Arizona Nationals this year. What a thrill.
Oh, it was a great thrill for Roland, Wes Cerny, all the crew. We worked so hard for that and blew up a lot of stuff a couple of years ago in that learning process. The win was just wonderful.
I was looking forward to that first winner's interview with you, and you were so sedate.
I know. I can remember watching Rusty Wallace jump off the roof of his car onto the hood when he won that Grand National race a couple of years ago. This was wonderful. I'm just a calm person, and it really took me a while for it to sink in. Tuesday or Wednesday, I did some jumping up and down.
You know, this is a perfect time to take a close-up look at Jim's car owner, Roland Leong.
Roland Leong's career rivals the best of them. 30 years and still counting. But unlike many of the other drag racing legends, the native Hawaiian success has not come as a driver, but rather as a car owner.
I decided to build a top fuel car. Well, I took the first ride in it at Long Beach. That was in 1964. And run off the end of the track, parachutes didn't open, run off the end of the track and crashed the car. And at that time decided, well, I don't think maybe this is not for me.
1 year later, a 21-year-old Leong hired Don Prudhomme to drive his dragster, and with Keith Black's engine expertise, the team took wins at both the Winter Nationals and the Nationals at Indianapolis.
That was the first year we went on tour in 1965 with Prudhomme, and been on tour ever since. And getting hooked up with Keith Black at Keith Black Racing Engines, and they were both more like figures for me to follow, which I kind of in some ways at different times still do.
The Prudhomme partnership ended in 1966, but the precedent had been set in what would become a long list of drivers for the fabled Hawaiian.
We hired a kid, I call him a kid, but he was older than I was at the time, called Mike Snively. And we went back to repeat winning the Winter Nationals again in 1966 and the Nationals. We thought at the time we were invincible, I thought so, that we'd never lose. Boy, did I have a shock when that happened. But as far as the dragsters, that was probably the favorite, the one that kind of made me, I guess.
Despite the success of the Hawaiian top fuel dragster, Roland moved into the funny car ranks in 1969. And what actually made him is his competitive nature, his commitment to the sport, and his legendary array of Hawaiian funny cars that have been gracing racetracks for the past 2 decades.
I always want to be number one, not that it worked out that way, but it's like even when times are bad and we're having problems, we always look forward for the next time we're going to start this thing up and run it down the track. You got to have good people, good crew. You have to have a leader, and I guess that's myself. Well, that's what my guys tell me anyway. I think one of the biggest things is always trying to figure out why, whether the car runs good, blows up, or runs bad. We like to know why it did what it did.
And the never-ending search for the elusive answers is not something that can easily be left at the racetrack.
It's like a roller coaster. It's got its high moments and it's got its low moments, and it's never boring with him.
And yet even Roland Leong, the consummate racer, finds time to leave the whys behind.
Every year, I try and go on a trip, kind of fascinated by the Orient. So we've been to Hong Kong, Japan, Bangkok, Singapore.
Last November, his 26-year-old daughter Rolanda was married, and his younger daughter, Roselani, recently graduated from USC. She still lives at home with Roland, Susie, and Wonton.
Wonton is a black chow chow. I kind of inherited from Roland. She's just a fun dog to be with, and I talk to her like a human being, and Roland thinks I'm crazy.
To relax, I play the piano.
He's a lot of fun when he's relaxed, and he plays this piano for me, and I listen.
One of my favorite sayings is that only the strong survive, and so far I've been maybe lucky that I've been able to survive it all.
Shortly after filing that report, Dave McClellan fell ill and is currently hospitalized. All of his friends in drag racing wish him well and a speedy recovery. We're making some pretty good progress here in the Winston Invitational. In fact, our foursome already has a couple of birdies under its belt. But looking around at some of the other racers, between you and me, they better not quit their day jobs. I haven't seen that many rusty swings this side of an abandoned schoolyard. But I did come across an incredible display of shot-making courtesy of Alan Johnson and Mike Austin. Now that's trust. But of course, don't try that on your home course.
Castrol presents the GTX Pipeline, the latest news from the world of drag racing.
An explosion in fire like this is one of the risks of drag racing. Just ask Paula Martin, who experienced one in January 1989. Paula's back now, the only woman currently driving a Nitro Funny car.
Because the engine and so much of the car was destroyed, it's taken a little bit longer to get our program back together again and on the road.
Paula has teamed up with former funny car driver Johnny West, who is now her crew chief.
We decided that we'd go ahead and try and team up with each other. I said I'd go ahead and help him out running the car a little bit. It just kind of worked as a natural, and we'll just go ahead and use my equipment, truck and trailer, what motor parts I have left. Kind of gets me out of the seat, which I've been trying to do for the last couple of years anyway.
Based on the last few months, that our relationship will last for quite a while. We're both looking forward to the rest of this year.
Knows Pro Stock star Bruce Allen knows he's almost as passionate about the game of golf as you are about drag racing, Bruce.
I've liked golf for a long time, and I just really enjoy being out and being able to play.
You play like a pro.
Not that good, but I'm getting better all the time and really enjoying playing in these kind of championships and tournaments for Winston and NHRA.
You have a lot of friends that are pros, though.
Yeah, I play with Danny Edwards sometimes, and Bruce Litsky, and other guys that play on the tour, and it's a lot of fun to go out and play with them. They are pros.
Now, we're having a lot of fun here today. And Bruce can tell you that this is very much a game for a clutch player. Clutch. That's the subject of Big Daddy Don Garlett's Tech Check this week.
I'm sitting in Bob Glidden's Pro Stock, And one of the big problems with Pro Stock is to have a good reaction time. And one of the ways to get that reaction time is the air gap. Now, they want to have a good reaction time, but they don't want to lose control of the car at the finish line. A nice short air gap is what they want, but you must be able to release the clutch when you get to the end of the run. And one of the ways that they've been able to help that situation is to change from the organic disc, which give good friction but require a big air gap, and go to the metallic clutch, which doesn't have quite the friction but has a small air gap because the disc doesn't expand as much. Therefore, they can run a shorter air gap. And it comes down to the fact that it seems like reaction time is more important than the friction capabilities of the clutch. So we're going to see in 1991 a lot of metallic clutches and a very short air gap.
As you might imagine, one of the craziest things anyone could do is turn a bunch of racers loose with a flotilla of golf carts. Did you know it's possible to do a burnout on grass? And I swear I saw John Force pull over to the side of the fairway and have Austin Coyle fill his cart with nitro. These little vehicles are definitely being forced to go faster than anyone ever intended. And a similar occurrence took place last weekend at Sears Point Raceway in California, where a group of drag racers hit the track in cars powered by Volkswagens. Here's Bob Fry with details.
The second annual VW Spring Nationals had something for everybody, including a custom car show, a swap meet, and a manufacturer's midway, in addition to a wide variety of racing activities. But the highlight of the event was a match race pitting Bob Godfrey's VW Scirocco funny car against the famed Foltz & Shoe VW dragster driven by Dave Foltz. Now, unlike normal Volkswagens, Godfrey's funny car has the engine in the front, and that created a few problems.
A normal type funny car would do a monster wheel stand. If you notice, we don't use any wheelie bars because of the weight. It doesn't quite transfer as good as it should, but it has an onboard computer, and the computer tells me that the front wheels are off the ground for about the first 60 feet, but not enough to where the average person notices it.
Dave Foltz has been working on Volkswagen since he was 14, and he just completed work on this new VW dragster.
It's a challenge to get a 170 cubic inch motor to go as fast as we go. I could have a V8. I could probably do real well with that, but this is different.
In the final race of the best 2 out of 3 big bug shootout, the funny car was given an advantage off the line, but then the flopper's throttle linkage broke, and it was an easy win for Foltz Dragster. For contrast to the small VWs, Sunday featured muscle cars taking part in the 15th annual Muscle Car Shootout. Now, Northern California has long been known for its show-quality street machines and classic muscle cars, and this event was no exception. The big shoebox war featured Dave Riallo's nitrous 605 cubic inch Chevrolet against Bob Bunker's blown 55 Chevy. After losing the first race, Bunker rebounded and won 2 straight over Riallo, winning bragging rights in the shoebox war. For NHRA Today, I'm Bob Fry.
Most people judge their golf game by how many strokes they take. I judge mine by how many balls I don't lose. Yuck. You know, you add up the cost of all of these balls, greens fees, cart fees, a little lunch, for what you spend on a single round of golf, heck, you could pay your whole year's membership in NHRA. There are many benefits to joining, including a year's subscription to National Dragster, and if you act now and call the number on your screen, you'll receive a bonus video. No, not Evans on Golf, but Drag Racing 90, which highlights all the action from last year's NHRA Championship battles. So make that call. And then plan to attend the 11th annual AC Delco Southern Nationals, which will be held next week at Atlanta Dragway. Winston Invitational Golf Tournament has just wrapped up, and team captain Bruce Allen, your impressions? I had fun.
I had a good time. I enjoy this kind of a format. You get to be able to play with somebody that you know but have never really met and been personal with, and you get to ask people questions and find out things about them you didn't have any idea about.
No pressure of the head-to-head scratch competition.
No, but I wouldn't want to play Jim head-to-head. He's an awful good player.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's got a lot of nice things to say about your swing, and so do I.
Well, I also have a lot of nice things to say about him. They race real well on the weekends. They look good on Sundays, but man, he hits the ball a long ways. I think he plays a lot of golf Monday through Friday.
Yeah, I think he does, too, along with Butch Leal. Now, the fourth in our group was supposed to be Kenny Bernstein. He arrived a little late, but our producer, Tom Gee, who's now behind the camera, hit some awesome putts.
What a putter. He made more long putts today than I've ever seen anybody make in their career.
Now, we finished, what, 3 under par, and that sounds good? Wasn't good enough. Here's the results. Finishing first out of the 25 teams was the foursome of Ricky Smith with a 9 under par 61. Well, we didn't win the golf tournament today, but I'll put my guys Bruce and Jim up against anybody when they hit the strip at Rockingham International Dragway. And next week, we'll have highlights of the Winston Invitational drag races and a preview of the AC Delco Southern Nationals. For all of us here at NHRA Today, see you next Sunday on TNN. Oh, by the way, today was a personal triumph, though, for me. I didn't lose a single club, but I think I broke my arm. How do you tell people you broke your arm? Playing golf.
NHRA Today has been brought to you by Castrol GTX, engineered for today's smaller cars. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the special offer from Diamond P.